Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, let's get ready because today we're tackling something that, well, it could really send ripples through businesses everywhere.
Mm.
We're talking about the serious talk around sweeping tariff changes.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, there's this proposed baseline, like 10% on all imports. That's a pretty big move aimed at, rebalancing trade.
It really is. And look, we know the regulatory landscape is always sort of shifting, things change.
Always something.
But the sheer scale here and maybe the potential speed of these changes, it feels like a whole different ballgame, doesn't it?
It really does. So our focus today is it's on a recent article that's really dissecting these potential tariff hikes.
Yeah, and crucially, we want to drill down on what this could actually mean for your business. Practical stuff.
Right. Cut through the, let's say, the political noise and pull out the insights you need to, well, not just react, but maybe get ahead of it.
Exactly. Proactively prepare. That's the goal.
Okay, so the article, it lays out a few different ways this could go, right? Different scenarios being floated.
Yeah, things like targeted tariffs, maybe specific countries or certain types of goods.
Or maybe more traditional negotiated deals, bilateral terms.
Mm-hmm. And then there's the big one, this potential broad, across-the-board tariff with maybe very few exceptions.
And as the article points out, each one of those paths, it brings its own unique set of challenges for operations, for finance.
Definitely. And to make it really tangible, the piece cites a BCG study.
Ah, yes, the numbers.
Right. It suggests companies with, say, a strong U.S. customer base, or maybe those with complex offshore supply chains. Well, they could see EBITDA margins dip.
And not by a little bit.
No, potentially shrinking by anywhere from 6 to 14 percentage points. That's significant.
Wow. So putting that simply, if your business is making X amount of profit now, a big chunk of that could just disappear because of tariffs.
That's the potential bottom line impact we need to understand. Yeah, it really underscores the stakes here.
So what's the answer then? The article seems to really hammer home this idea of business agility.
It does, and it frames it not just as, a nice-to-have capability.
Or like essential.
Exactly, a fundamental survival mechanism in what could be a very volatile trade environment. The old ways, like rigid annual financial planning.
The once-a-year plan set in stone.
Yeah, that just won't cut it. Not when you might face such rapid, substantial policy shifts.
Okay, let's dig into that agility idea more. The article highlights scenario modeling, running what-if analyses. How does that work in practice?
Well, it means you can't just rely on your current forecast. You have to be actively exploring different potential futures, different tariff levels, different responses.
So less predicting, more preparing for possibilities.
Precisely. And this is where a modern approach to financial planning and analysis, FP&A, becomes absolutely critical. Think of it as your first line of defense.
Okay, FP&A on the front lines. What should they be doing, according to the article?
Well, several key things. They need to be ready, almost instantly, to recalculate profit margins under different tariff scenarios.
Right, see how the numbers change.
Adjust the cost of capital because import costs may jump. Thoroughly evaluate potential supply chain changes. Do we nearshore? Do we diversify further?
Those are big strategic questions.
Huge. And they need to model different pricing strategies, too. Can we pass costs on? How much? What's the impact on demand?
So it touches everything.
It really does. For instance, the models might show, okay, nearshoring reduces tariff risk, but maybe it increases your reliance on one region's stability.
So there are trade-offs.
Always trade-offs. Diversifying across more distant regions might still mean some tariff costs, but maybe offers more resilience against, say, a localized lockdown or natural disaster.
Got it. So FP&A needs to be constantly modeling these kinds of complex choices.
Actively modeling them, yes. It's about looking forward, planning for multiple what-ifs, not just reporting on the past.
And I imagine having the right tools is, well, pretty essential for doing that effectively. The article stresses that.
Absolutely essential. You can't do this kind of complex, rapid modeling easily with, traditional spreadsheets alone. FP&A teams need the right tech to minimize risk and protect that bottom line.
So what strategies should they be analyzing with these tools?
Well, the article emphasizes things like supply chain diversification, not having all your eggs in one basket.
Makes sense.
Carefully looking at pricing adjustments, maybe even shifts in your whole go-to-market strategy. It all needs to be on the table.
And it sounds like this needs buy-in across the business.
Totally. It demands a planning process that's not just continuous, but also really collaborative. Sales, operations, finance, they all need to be connected.
Now, the article brings up an interesting point about traditional planning tools maybe falling short here, given the geopolitical uncertainty.
Yeah, they can struggle with the speed and complexity. Which leads into the next point, AI-powered enterprise scenario planning.
Okay, AI. For someone used to spreadsheets, what's the real difference? What does AI bring to the table here?
It's mainly about speed and comprehensiveness. Traditional tools might buckle under the sheer volume of data and the interconnectedness of it all, especially when policy changes fast.
So AI can handle that complexity.
Right. The article describes how AI-powered platforms can simulate the tariff impacts across your whole financial picture, income statement, balance sheet, cash flow, and do it incredibly quickly. We're talking minutes, potentially.
Minutes. Wow, that's a game changer compared to manual modeling.
It really is. It's like having, I don't know, a real-time GPS for your business strategy instead of trying to navigate with an old paper map in a storm.
I like that analogy. So these AI tools, they're not just looking at my company's internal numbers.
No, that's key. The article highlights how they combine external macroeconomic indicators, things like inflation, currency rates, global trade trends.
The big picture stuff.
Exactly. With your own internal financial and operational data, this allows for much more sophisticated, realistic simulations.
Which leads to better decisions faster.
That's the idea. You can essentially stress test your business against a whole range of potential tariff outcomes, see where the weak points are, but also maybe where opportunities lie.
Okay, so we get the challenge. We see the power of these advanced tools. Let's talk actionable steps. What can businesses listening right now actually do to start building resilience? The article gives some takeaways, right?
Yes, absolutely. And these are really practical. First, the article strongly advises investing in integrated, AI-driven scenario planning tools. It actually mentions Board Foresight as one example.
Okay, so look into the tech. What else?
Second, just having the tool isn't enough. You need to use it. Actively run continuous what-if simulations.
Like strategic fire drills.
Exactly like that. Assess the risks, sure, but also look for potential upsides or opportunities that might emerge from these shifts. Don't just play defense.
Right, be proactive. Makes perfect sense. You have to actually engage with the possibilities, was the third point.
Third, the article really underscores aligning your different strategies. Pricing, supply chain management, capital allocation, they can't be treated in isolation anymore.
They all have to work together under a unified plan.
Precisely. Especially when facing something as broad as potential tariffs. And finally, maybe the most crucial bit,
Go on.
empower your FP&A teams. Give them the mandate to proactively lead this transformation. Don't just have them reacting after the fact.
So, shift FP&A from scorekeeper to strategic partner.
That's a great way to put it. Give them the tools, yes, but also the authority to help shape the business's response before changes hit.
That feels like a really significant cultural shift for some organizations, empowering finance in that strategic way.
It can be, but the article argues it's necessary now. Oh, and it also mentions an upcoming webinar on driving agility and value in manufacturing.
Ah, good pointer. Sounds relevant for listeners in that sector who want to dive even deeper.
Yeah, seems like a good resource for specific applications there. It's all about equipping yourself, isn't it? With the knowledge, the tools.
To not just survive the storm, but maybe navigate it better than others.
Exactly. Potentially come out stronger.
Okay, so wrapping this up then. It's clear these potential rising tariffs, they're a big challenge, no doubt. But as our deep dive today showed, drawing on that article, there's also a real opportunity here for businesses that lean into agility and strategic planning.
Absolutely.
We talked about the key tools and approaches, leveraging AI for scenario planning, the need for continuous what-if thinking to understand your exposures.
And your potential advantages, too, not just risks.
Good point. And that crucial empowered role for FP&A, shifting from reactive to proactive.
And you know, what's really valuable for listeners to take away is that this proactive planning isn't just about damage control.
Right, not just minimizing losses.
No. By rigorously modeling these scenarios, you might actually uncover new market opportunities or find ways to optimize your operations you hadn't seen before. You might even gain a competitive edge if others aren't as prepared.
That's a fantastic point. It flips the script from just defense to potential offense as well.
It can, yeah.
Okay, so as you, our listener, are thinking about this possibility of rapid, maybe large-scale tariff changes, here's a final thought, a question maybe for your own business. What is the single most vulnerable aspect of your operation in this potential new trade landscape? Where are you most exposed? And then what immediate steps can you take, maybe starting tomorrow, to really stress test its resilience using some form of scenario planning.
Even simple scenarios can be revealing.
Right. And think beyond just the immediate cost hits. Dig into the broader strategic implications for your supply chain, your pricing power, your market position overall. It feels like the time isn't just to think about being agile, but to actively start building that agility right into the core of your business.